Okay, what's going on, LBHT crew? B, what is going on?
Lakers in the playoffs is what's going on.
Lakers in the playoffs. Oh,
despite
man.
Anthony Davis's best efforts.
Hey, listen, it's Wednesday, guys. Happy Wednesday. Hope your week is going well. But if not, hopefully it gets better starting right now. Oh, look who's here first. Coach Evans from Sip 2 Tally Films.
Coach?
What's going on, Coach? Yes. He beat your guy Bazel. Bazel, you slipping today. Ooh, we got Alfonso Richardson in the house. What's going on, Alfonso? Thanks for coming through. We got MJ in the house. What's up, MJ? Just Aloes in the house says hello, LBHT crew. I hope everyone is well. Hey, indeed. We got Hendo from the Rogue Pie says we in here. Yes. Dandy's in the house. What's up, Dandy? Says welcome to the channel. Hit the like button and subscribe. Yes. Living Legend in the house. What's going on, Living Legend? Salute to you. Zeke Hokage says Jose and Brodny, what's good, unks? Hey, that makes me feel a little old.
I know. He keeps doing it, too. Keep on doing it. That's all right, Zeke.
That's right, Coach calling them slow fingers, calling Bazel slow fingers. Yeah, he was slow today. But look, listen, we already here talking about Odell. We talked about Odell. We're gonna give you some more Odell. Okay, we'll discuss some contract details. We'll discuss what it could mean for the Ravens. But look, the NBA playoffs is here. Okay, and if you didn't know, this is a sports channel. Okay, we discuss a little basketball on here as well. All right, and we have a special guest to help us discuss the NBA playoffs, because nobody can break down the NBA like this man, Mr. Keeping It Real. What's going on?
What's going on, guys? How y'all doing?
Oh, man.
Doing great. Let me take this off so we don't cut your face off. There we go. Hey, man, listen. You're a go-to guy for NBA talk. Okay, all things NBA. Okay, you are the man. All right. So do we want to start with the NBA? B? Should we start with the NBA?
We probably should.
Okay, we'll get to that in a second. Let me give a couple more shout outs here. We got Joy Walker. What's going on, Joy? Salute to Joy. Thanks for coming through. See, Dubster's in the house. Says, what up, LBHT? Let's have a great show. Indeed. Top billing, what's good? Says, if Ravens got OBJ, why couldn't they have just kept D-Hop or just got D-Hop instead? We'll discuss that as well. Our brother OTR Mike from Open Mike with OTR Mike says, well, if it isn't the LBHT gangsters. Oh, okay. And salute to Marco G for coming through. Says, what's good, fellas? Congrats on the Lakers for winning the chip last night.
Right. Thank you, Marco. Thank you.
And what's up, One Sessions? Thanks for coming through. D Weezy in the house. Oh, there he is. He's late. Bazel says, y'all would do this while I'm making chicken nuggets. You know
it's
what time the show starts?
It's been the same time for 3 years, Bazel. Making chicken nuggets like you're a damn 12-year-old.
I didn't hear you say. I got Big Reg. What's up, Big Reg? Thanks for coming through, man. Yolanda, what's going on, Yolanda? Shout out to you.
What's going on?
All right. Look. Let's get into this because we want to discuss.
I think that you forgot something.
No, I didn't forget. Let me set it up.
My goodness.
Let me set it up. Okay, I'll tell you what I did forget. We are streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. So make sure you hit subscribe, like, follow, all that good stuff. Also, if you're looking for the super chat, if you're new here and you're looking for the super chat, there are 2 ways we do the super chat. One is right there on the corner, right below B, $ LBHT Show. That's the Cash App. Also, the pin link that you see in the chat box will take you to our stream elements. Both ways, you leave your donation, leave your comment. You'll get a nice little animation right next to my face. In fact, let me change my back screen here so you can see the microphone man. All right, this is the Ring King setup here. Okay, yes, we are going to get into that. But I didn't forget, B. Okay, I never forget. We start every show with a Black History fact, and B has a Black History fact for you.
Why would you take the time to make chicken nuggets from scratch, bro?
From scratch? That's
not just
wild.
Not just make something else. Why would you? Anyway, I don't know about that. That's cool, man. Enjoy. I don't want to ruin your dinner. So yeah, we'll keep this a little bit quick. Today is a very special anniversary I don't know if anybody knows what it is just off the top of their head, but today, April 12th, in 1861, was the start of the Civil War, when the Confederate Army attacked Fort Sumter, took it over with no casualties, and a couple of days later had kind of moved in and made it their own. And it's kind of relevant to Black history because it showed the different ways that Black people were valued by the North and the South, and they were valued by both. Okay, because the South, like I said, a couple of days later they moved in and they brought in a bunch of carpenters and laborers, and they were mostly slaves. And they worked on repairing and maintaining the fort over the next 4 years. They had over 1,200 slaves during that time period, compared to just a couple hundred white laborers working on the Fort Sumter, as opposed to the North, who looked at Black people as an asset to help win the war. Right. In the summer of 1862, July 1862, the North passed the Second Confiscation and Militia Act, which allowed them to go into any state and essentially conduct a draft to fill the ranks of the Union Army. And if the quotas weren't met by volunteers, then you go into the draft portion. The Confiscation Act said, hey, anybody who rebels against the U.S., essentially the Union, loses their slaves. So it was kind of sort of an emancipation kind of thing. I mean, obviously the war is going on, so you can't really enforce it. But that's what it said in practice. That didn't really work out, the draft part. But it did lead to the Enrollment Act about a year later, which was a national draft. But this was the first time. It wasn't the first time that Black people actually fought in a war for the U.S. That happened in the Revolutionary War, the War of 1812. But it was the first time that Black people enrolled or enlisted in large numbers. There was a lot of enthusiasm for Black people joining the military and fighting in this Civil War. Hoping that it would bring equality, it would bring real change. And on one hand, obviously it did. Slavery went away, but obviously discrimination remained. And even with the Militia Act, when they were allowing Black people to enlist, written right into the act was a discrepancy in pay if you were Black versus a white soldier. And they say that a lot of that was they expected Blacks to be laborers as opposed to actual soldiers. But I mean, regardless, right? One thing that I did find kind of interesting to go along with this, because we talk about it a lot every week on this show with the salary cap and how it just kind of, it's an artificial way to suppress salaries. When the Enrollment Act was passed and there was a nationwide draft, essentially, like they were quotas for every state, every district, and they built in a couple of ways to get out of it. Ostensibly for pacifists, but one was providing a substitute. You get a suitable substitute to take your place. You don't have to go. The other way was paying $300, which in 2018 was the equivalent of about $5,000. So you just kind of pay your way out. The Army gets some money, they get a little more funding, and you get to stay home. And which obviously, you say it's for pacifists, but it's for rich people, right? So that they don't have to go and fight war. Right. And it spawned the phrase "rich man's war, poor man's fight." And a lot of people think that the option to pay your way out was essentially a salary cap for substitutes, because what would happen at the time a lot was substitutes would, they'd get paid to take people's spot. They would enlist, and then they'd be up out of there, right? And then they would go back and get paid to be a substitute again, join up, desert, get paid, join up, desert. So there were career substituters, they called them. And the pay your way out clause was seen as a way to limit the amount of money that those people could make. Essentially doing it. But yeah, that was just something I found a little bit interesting, because we talk about that a lot with the way the salary cap is artificially suppressing the way athletes can earn today. But yes, the main fact today, the anniversary of the start of the Civil War, which led to or really spurred on the emancipation and abolition of slaves in the U.S.
Hey, that's what's up. That was a good Black History fact. Salute to MJ says, "What's up? Keeping it real. It's gonna be a great show tonight." Yes. We are excited to see our guy keeping it real. Yes. Suge Knight 323 is in the house over there on Twitch. He's 1323 over on Twitch. If you're a Twitch viewer, and he plays all kinds of stuff, Call of Duty. What's the other one? Apex Legends, Magic. He does all that stuff. So go over there, give him a following. Okay. And salute to Llama, the Llama for $1.69. Appreciate that. Says Llama, red pajamas alone without his mama. Baby Llama wants a drink, but mama's at the kitchen sink. Okay. Oh no, Llama, red pajama calls down to him. Mama, baby, llama. Okay. That's what he put.
All right.
Llama, hey, you pay for it. You get it. He says, llama hums a tune. Mama says that she'll be up soon. Salute to the llama. Hey, thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
And thank you to
Bird flew from trash, Brandon.
And salute to Dorian WP1 for subscribing. I appreciate that. All right. Listen, if you want some weird comments like that, Red, hit the Cash App, I guess. Okay. $ LBHT Show is the Cash App. Also, that pin link that you see in the chat box. Yes, I know. That was that was something. What's up, Engraven? Thanks for coming through. You know, I wanted to start with the NBA playoffs. But keeping it real, we haven't seen you in a while, right? Mm-hmm. And I've been watching your videos. I just wanted you to give your thoughts on Odell signing with the Ravens. What are your thoughts? You know, is it good? You know, bad, too late? You know, not enough. What do you think about the whole thing?
You know, it's funny. Like I've seen a lot of positive vibes from this. Like, oh, we finally got Odell. This is great. We got that number one guy. I've seen some people say, I don't like it. It's too late for that. Lamar is already out the door. For me personally, I kind of had mixed feelings. I didn't love the signing, but I didn't hate it. Now, Odell on this wide receiving core, obviously he threads the needle. We know the talent that he brings, but there are some concerns because of his injury history, and he is coming off of 2 ACLs. So the question comes up when it comes to the situation, the question that comes up is, will he be healthy enough to play through a 17-game season? That's kind of a tough one to answer. But at the same time, you do understand that when he is on the field, a guy like this is going to garner attention from defenses because of his experience and what he brings to the table, which definitely can open it up for a guy like Rashad Bateman and our other receivers to kind of do something. So bringing OBJ here, it was a deal I didn't love, but I didn't hate. Obviously, he's a guy that definitely helps out the receiving core and honestly looks like automatically comes in and be that number one guy for the Ravens. But it's not like I was overly excited for that. However, I kind of looked at the situation, thought to myself that the Ravens are pulling somewhat of a, how do you say, desperate move? Because this is literally a move for Lamar Jackson. As soon as I saw this sign, I'm like, this is a move to try and convince Lamar to try to lower whatever his price is, whatever his number is. They're trying to lower it, or at least convince him to lower it by finally giving him the weapons that he wants, because he's wanted OBJ for a while and they weren't able to get OBJ. Now all of a sudden he's like, I want my money. We're not getting anything going with the deal. That trade request comes, we hear about it, and now all of a sudden the Ravens, a franchise that's been known to not give up huge money for an offensive player, decides to give this huge deal to a wide receiver. And yeah, it's 1 year, but like this is unprecedented from what the Ravens normally do. The type of money they gave Odell is the type of money they would give a linebacker or a corner. That's what they would usually do. But to give that to a receiver, this is obviously a move to try and really kind of get Lamar back and try to see if he can lower his price. So this move was really to try and see if they can try to get Lamar closer, or at least back to where they want him to be, and see if they can work this deal out, which again, we'll see how it works. But yeah, in terms of the Odell thing, I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I think it's something that can help the receiving core, but it's more about how this move could affect Lamar's potential status and his future status with the Ravens.
Yeah. Hey, well said. But this is why I love what Lamar is doing, right? as we call it, he's getting the black quarterback treatment. Okay, if you look through the history of the NFL and black starting quarterbacks, teams don't invest in them, right? And you hear a lot of the same tropes, the same dog whistles, right? He's more of a runner than a passer. Oh well, yeah, he's good, but when his legs go, what good is he to the team? Essentially, right? You can't invest in a player like that. Like you can't surround him with weapons because he's not accurate, or wide receivers don't want to play with him. Like this isn't the first time you've heard this stuff with Lamar. It's the same thing with Donovan McNabb. Same thing with Culpepper. Even though Dante Culpepper shows you exactly what he can do with weapons, right? RG3 got the same treatment. Warren Moon had to go to another league to prove himself as a quarterback, right? Before he can come to the NFL. So this has always been a narrative. Teams just don't invest the way they would a white quarterback. And even though I think the Ravens like him, like B said, I don't believe they really believed in him as a passer. And it shows, right? Because they don't invest in the offense at all. They don't give him the weapons, even though he's saying, I need weapons, I need this. But he's one of the first to stand his ground and say, all right, well, pay me, right? Like I'm not going to just take some team friendly deal. You're either going to invest in me or I'll walk. And he put them in such a bad situation because they may not believe in him as a passer, but they understand that they need him, right? Yep. And they're in a situation where there are no other options. And this is something that we wish Cam Newton had done for the Panthers. I think Cam Newton was just two pro Panthers, right? Two pro organization, and it was to his detriment. And I don't think they treated him well on his way out. They definitely put him in a bad spot in terms of getting himself hurt and just not putting anything around him. Had he done something similar to this, I think you would have seen more weapons around Cam Newton. I think his career would turn out a little bit different towards the end. And I think what Lamar's doing right now is exactly what he should have done, because they weren't going to get Odell, right? But because he's just like, look, you're going to pay me or I'm not going to play. Now they're like, okay, we hear you. Let's get you some help on that side. You want Odell? I wouldn't be. Look, D-Hop's still out there. I wouldn't be surprised if they go after D-Hop. I don't think they're going to do it, but I won't be surprised. This is what happens when teams get desperate.
Mm-hmm. I agree with keeping it real. Like this, what is fully an attempt to bring Lamar back into the fold, because what was the first thing they did in free agency? They offered $21 million to Darius Slay. If they get that deal done, there's no Odell. And Odell's not coming at that point. But they thought, hey, okay, yeah, he requested his trade, whatever. He's gonna stay here. And it seems like, hey, he's not engaging with them. This, obviously we don't know. This is all behind the scenes. My sense is that he's not engaging with them. He's not saying, yeah, I'll be back. He's not giving in. And so that's why, in their press conference the other day, they were they looked so shook. They didn't want to hear his name. They didn't want to answer any questions about him because they don't know if they're going to have him. And they go out and they offer more money to Odell than any wide receiver made this offseason, right? Like Odell's he's a very talented player, but like I said, he has the injury history. There's talk out there that he's healthier now than he was prior to the second ACL tear. So, I mean, we'll see if that bears out, then this is a great deal. Yeah. If not, then, obviously it goes the other way. But there were other wide receivers that you could have had for less, and they weren't interested. To Jose's point, though, there are other options. You can have Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson, and all you got to do is send Lamar down the road a bit to Charlotte. We'll give you that number one pick. You'll be well on your way.
We'll talk about the Panthers in a minute, and what's being reported they're getting. We'll see how you feel about that in a minute. But yes. No, they put themselves in a horrible situation, and that's just, I think that's ego on their part. I think they just thought, hey, we are a top-notch organization. We've done this a trillion times. We know how to deal with players, and this guy doesn't have an agent. We can break him. And it didn't happen, and they did business as if he was already signed, because they just knew that they're going to get him to commit, and he hasn't. He's done the opposite. He's just like, look, it's whatever, man. You can tag me. I feel no pressure. I'll sit here, until you give me my money. All the while, their money's tied up because they don't want to, spend too much because, they're tagging him and he's eating up the cap. There's no other QB options out there, and they're stuck. They can't go through this season. They can't go into the next season losing, right? Not as much money as they pumped into the defense. Not as much they talked up, being a competitive team and all that stuff. They have to sign him. They have to figure something out. So, yeah, man. When a team is in that situation, you don't have to do much. That's the thing. Like, you don't need an agent for that. You don't need an agent to sit there and say, "I'll wait." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's read a couple of comments here. We got. Let's pull this up. Marco G says, Ian Rappaport said he wasn't even healthy in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and he still balled out. He did.
Yeah.
He did. That's a fact. One session says you can give that money to D-Hop instead of Odell. Yeah, you have to. Right now, D-Hop isn't a free agent. You have to trade for D-Hop, right? So it's a matter of what does Arizona want. I heard they've gone down the asking price, right? Yeah, look, you love D-Hop. There's no argument there. You can have both. There's not to be one or the other. That's the other thing. They can get both of them. Okay.
Yeah, but like, there's a thing that has to happen there. I believe for D-Hop, because like he's like huge on the salary cap for the Cardinals, so they have to like first restructure his contract before a trade can happen.
Yes, yeah,
or just agree to pay some of his salary, right? And they weren't able to get a second, third round pick that they were looking for. I know Baltimore only has the 5 picks, and I know that really scares Eric. But if you send that third round pick to Arizona and say, hey, you need to eat X amount of the cap, and then he shows up in Baltimore, you can restructure either his deal or some of the other Ravens on the team, because they said they can open up about $26 million doing restructures just with existing contracts. They can do it. It's just a matter of, do they want to do it?
Yeah. Marco G says OBJ, D-Hop, or Evans and Bateman to go along with Likely and Mark Andrews. A healthy JK, assuming we keep Lamar. Eye emojis. Oh, yes, assuming. And we'll discuss that a little bit more in a second. Spawn says these owners are trying to do as much as they can to not have these big guaranteed contracts be the new normal in the NFL. That's another thing I want to discuss as well, because I was watching one of Quincy Carrier's videos discussing the whole dynamic with the contracts and how that's going to play into the next collective bargaining agreement. Because what's going on is they have that rule where they have to commit like 80% of that salary in escrow, right? The owners do, right? And basically it was just 80% was just too high, right? They thought it was a good idea at the time, so you didn't have people just making these ridiculous deals and then not ponying up the money later, right? But now salaries are inevitably going to go up high, right? Like, it's inevitable. 230 mil guaranteed is inevitable. Like, that's right around the corner, right? Most of your top quarterbacks are going to be getting that next year or the year after. So they know it's going to go up. I think it's just a matter of them trying to slow it down long enough to where they can get back to the bargaining table and try to get that number down for how much they have to put in escrow, right? But that's what Quincy was saying. That was an interesting point he made.
I'm not sure that that's something that they would even have to wait for the CBA. I mean, this is just an agreement amongst the owners, right? And it's a little less than 80%. Like, for example, this one guy had a video and he was breaking it down. He said, like, for the Deshaun Watson deal, they had to put in, I believe it was like 160 million or something like that, 165, somewhere around there. So it wasn't, it's not the full amount or anything like that. But this is just something they could probably just get together at an owners meeting and say, we don't need to do that anymore.
Well, I don't know, right? I don't know what they can change and what has to be collectively agreed upon.
Listen, apparently they can change whatever they want because I went to bed one day with a 16-game schedule and I woke up with 17. So,
well, I think
that's fair.
Yeah, I don't know because this is dealing with players' contracts. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be. Who knows? All right, let's read a couple more comments here. Marcus says, "Great move signing OBJ. You somewhat mend the relationship with Lamar. Need to get a deal done, and you mend the relationship with Bateman because he's close with OBJ." Look, keep it real. Let me ask you this. That now there's wide speculation that this move does help Lamar because Lamar wanted Odell here, and it's believed that Odell signed here with the understanding that Lamar's going to be the quarterback. Do you think that this signing signifies that Lamar will be coming back at least for next year?
Oh yeah, this is great. I had a video about this a while back where I played all the likely scenarios that can happen regarding Lamar Jackson, about whether or not he signs the tag, whether or not the Ravens could look to potentially get an offer and match that. And I came down to two scenarios that I think could very well happen, depending on how the situation goes. One of those was a potential trade for Lamar Jackson if nothing can happen, because they cannot go into the season without knowing who their starting quarterback is. And then the other situation was Lamar Jackson playing on the tag and seeing what he could do next season. Prior to OBJ getting signed, I thought that it could be likely, if nothing's happening, especially since Lamar put out that tweet that he requested a trade, if nothing is progressing, if they can't get anyone, I thought the possibility of Lamar Jackson potentially being traded, maybe even during draft night, could be on the table. And it was definitely more likely to happen as the days went on.
Right.
But that was before I saw them make a move to get OBJ. I never thought they would make that type of move because that's not their MO. So that shows it's a move of desperation to try and keep him. And since this is somebody that Lamar Jackson has wanted, and now he has that weapon to work alongside him, we were seeing all the videos of him and Odell together on his IG and stuff. And it seems like he's definitely wants to play with this guy. I believe it's more likely that he ends up playing on the tag this season, especially since Odell's a one-year deal as well. They see how this works out. And then next offseason, they try to work this out, because I mean, I don't expect the deal to happen between now and the start of the season, and Lamar is not going to negotiate his contract during the season. So
no,
I think it's possible he plays on the tag this year because he's going to have OBJ. They see what they can do together, and then they renegotiate this whole situation next offseason.
Yeah, well, they can't even negotiate after July, right? When you're on the tag,
they can. It would just have to be. You can't negotiate a long-term deal. They can negotiate the 1-year deal.
Okay.
But yeah, I agree that I don't think it signals him coming back necessarily. But I agree with your other points about, especially because they signed Odell to a 1-year deal. Like, they are kind of just trying to draw him back in for this season, play on the tag, and then we'll see where we go from there. And Lamar, I'm sure Lamar is open to that. Like I said, he wants to play with Odell. Rashad Bateman presumably will be healthy thanks to the end of the Steve Saunders era. You got J.K. Dobbins, you got Mark Andrews, you got Isaiah Likely, you got even Nelson Aguilar is a nice little upgrade down the depth chart for them. But I still think that if somebody comes in with an offer, Lamar's going to be like, yo, have fun, Odell. I'll see you in the offseason.
Well, right? I mean, listen, yes, but the Ravens could still match, right?
Yeah, I don't think that he would sign a deal with another team while with Baltimore saying we're going to match. I think he would go and say, hey, listen, I found a deal. I want to move. You need to just agree to go ahead and trade me.
Yeah.
And what I've heard from Ravens fans when we point out bad trades that they made is if somebody requests a trade, you are obligated to trade them.
Oh, so. well, that doesn't count when it's a player that we want, right? What's up, ASG? Says Lamar's coming back. He's not going to not take the tag money at the end of the day. He might. You don't know. You don't know.
We'll see.
And listen, I don't think he's not going to play this year either, right? But the thing with that is he got until week 7 to decide, right? Like, that's not he has to decide by July or by training camp. He could say, okay, I'm gonna play on the tag. I'll let you know when I show up. You don't want to wait until week 7 for him to, 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 to,
Yeah, and the big thing for me is if you're the Colts, if you're sitting there at 4 and Will Levis is the only guy left, how happy are you with that? Or are you going to make a move for Lamar? If you're the 49ers and you're going through your mini camps and whatnot right now, and you're like, man, Trey Lance does not look like the guy, and Brock Purdy is injured, and we let Jimmy go, and it's Sam Darnold here. I don't even want to talk to Sam. Are you not going to make a move for Lamar, right? If you're Miami and you're like, man, Tua had 18 concussions last year, and he's up for contract. I don't want to pay him, 170 million or whatever guaranteed. Are you not going to make a move for Lamar? Right. So I think it's, they have that big hurdle to get over in Baltimore, which is draft night. And then, the next week or two where teams are going to be, there's teams that are going to miss out on quarterback, period. It happens every single year. And if you're one of those teams, you're going to have those desperation moments. And are you going to make an offer that Baltimore will not match in that time frame?
Yeah. Salute to Marco G for 333 says, do you guys think that with OBJ signing with the Ravens, Aaron Rodgers may not want to go to the Jets since Jets were also pursuing OBJ? He got Alan Lazard. That was one of his demands, right? Alan Lazard.
And Randall Cobb and the tight end and his own offensive coordinator. And
he's going to the Jets. He's going to the Jets. As long as Randall Cobb, he's going to the Jets.
The only thing that's holding up is the compensation, right? He already said he wants to play. It's not a matter of him wanting to go there. It's do the Jets still want him for the price tag? Because Green Bay is not coming off of what they asked for. What they asked for, like two first-round picks?
No, I think so. What I read is that they had basically, almost finalized an agreement, and it was going to be a third this year or a fourth this year, and then a first next year. But the Jets were making the trade with the understanding that he's going to play for 2 seasons.
Yeah.
And then Aaron Rodgers came out and said, I'm 90% retired. And they're like, well, hold on.
That's the thing. Like, Packers don't want to, like the Jets don't want to give up that pick if they know that Aaron Rodgers is not going to play in 20. Like, it's not 100%. Right. The minute A-Rod said that, they're like, hold on, we're not sure we're getting him. We thought we might get him for 2 years, but we get him for one. Now we're not giving you a pick for 2024.
Yeah.
Right.
Be the change you wish to see. Says, anybody going to mention the Jalen Hurts $340 million plus rumored deal? There's all kinds of rumors flowing out there. Yeah, so it was 300 north 300 mil. There's rumors of what's the kid's name?
Justin Herbert.
Oh yeah, Justin Herbert getting a $500 million deal. There's some big contracts on the horizon, and for the Ravens to not give Lamar what he wants now is foolish. It's foolish. Like, whatever he's asking for today is not what he's going to ask for next year. That's guaranteed. That's just business. That's the market going up. That's the cap going up. That's price of everything going up, right? Salaries go up as well. So if he wants $230 million guaranteed, then you give it to him, because next year these players, Jalen Hurts, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, right? Pretty soon Trevor Lawrence, in a couple years, these players are going to get that money.
Yep.
2 or 3 of them are going to get that money next year, and if they get that money next year, especially with Lamar balling out with Odell, right? He's going to want more.
Yep.
So you have to pay even more. So whatever he's asking for, I don't care how you feel about it, man. Just give it to him. Because what are you going to do next year? They're not going to be prepared next year to lose him. They're not going to be in a situation. In fact, they're going to be even less prepared, because if he says I'm not coming back, then Odell's not coming back, and you have to pay $11 million in dead money for Odell.
That would be worse.
Right.
Much worse, and they wouldn't be prepared for it.
Yeah, exactly. And when you're talking about quarterback, the price only goes up. It always goes up. It never comes down, even if it ends up not being Lamar. Like, this is what Carolina just went through, right? They had the chance to draft Justin Fields or Mac Jones. They didn't like either one of them, so they went with J.C. Horn. And for the last several years, they've been in QB hell, and they've traded a couple firsts, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, Christian McCaffrey, DJ Moore, to get into the position to take their quarterback in April, to get to that number 1 pick. Like, that's a lot more than just saying, hey, you know, we're going to go out and give our quarterback what he wants. Now, for Carolina, obviously, they didn't have the guy in-house, and that, you know, that played into that. But Baltimore, you have the guy. You know he's the guy. He's proven repeatedly he's the guy. If you let him go, I mean, who knows how long it's going to take you to find an adequate replacement and what you're going to end up having to give up to get those guys. Because with the defense they have, even if you roll out there with Tyler Huntley, you're probably not going to be in position to draft Caleb Williams or Drake May next year, right? Your defense is going to win you too many games for you to be picking one or two. So then you're talking about having to trade up or just skipping out on quarterback again. And then you start getting into that Cleveland Brown territory where they went 30 years without having a real franchise quarterback.
Yeah. No. All facts. Yeah. Hendo brings up a good point. Also, Mahomes restructuring is going to happen. What's he going to get paid? If Mahomes says, I need $280 million guaranteed, what do you think the Chiefs are going to say? You think they're going to say no?
They're going to hand them the check blank. Just sign your name here.
Yeah. That's it. $280 million. All right, here you go.
I mean, you could ask. Hey, man, you could ask for $350. You could ask for $500. Low key, we could have gave it. You got us 2 rings, man. You take whatever you want.
Right, and that only pushes up the price for everybody else. Right? You could say, hey, you know, Lamar's not Pat Mahomes. Nobody's Pat Mahomes, but there's only one Pat Mahomes, and we can't get him. Right?
True.
That's how the market works. Right? People think, oh well, he's not the best player. Why is he asking for the most money? Because he's the best player available. Right? He is Patrick Mahomes to us. Okay? Patrick Mahomes ain't coming to the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar is here, and be glad we have Lamar.
And it don't even have to be Pat Mahomes in this situation, because again, if you look at both Jalen Hurts and Joe Burrow, who are both up for a contract, these are quarterbacks that went to the Super Bowl. So they helped take their team to the Super Bowl. Obviously, if you lead a friend like Cincinnati, when's the last time they've been to the Super Bowl? He helped get them there, and then they almost got there last season. Whatever he wants, they're going to give it to him. And then Jalen Hurts, for them to be able to go from Carson Wentz and then rebuild this team under Jalen Hurts in as quickly as they did and then get to the Super Bowl, that guy leading them there, whatever he wants, they're going to be willing to give. So it's only a matter of time. So, I mean, if you wait on this Lamar thing, these other quarterbacks here that Lamar's looking at and saying, I'm just as good as those guys that have gotten to Super Bowls, they're going to get paid big. And the Ravens, if you don't do this now and you wait later, you're just not going to have the money to afford him, and you could end up losing him completely.
Yeah, and that's kind of my thing with the, you know, even OBJ coming is not guaranteeing him coming back. It's exactly what you said right there, right? Joe Burrow got to the Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts got to the Super Bowl. You know, Josh Allen got to the conference championship. And Odell is sitting here, or not Odell, Lamar is sitting here saying, I'm better than all those guys. And the reason that I'm not in the Super Bowl is because of you, Eric, and you, Steven. Because you're not giving me the tools that I need to get there. Joe Burrow has Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd to go. Yeah, the O-line is bad, and they've got to work on that. They've been working on that. But you're talking about one of the best skill position groups in the league, period. You know, the Eagles are loaded everywhere on that roster. You know, Josh Allen was missing guys by 6-7 yards, and they said, we're going to get you Stephon Diggs. And, you know, and go out and get Dawson Knox, and we're working on the running back position. We're going to make sure you're protected. We're still going to try to bring in more receivers and help out. Like those other teams are building around those guys now. And Lamar's looking around, and it's Devin Duvernay and Tylan Wallace and James Prochet, right? And he's the one who's catching the slander for that, not Eric DeCosta. It's just, oh, Lamar's not good enough. That's why they're 1-3 in the playoffs. It's Lamar. And that's absolutely not the case.
Now, Tori Askew says Ravens are sending the message that they do not fully believe in LJ as their long QB. Here's OBJ. Now prove it to us. I don't think that's what the OBJ signing is, right? I think if they did that last year, right, then maybe. But this is clearly a desperation move, and the timing of it. They didn't even do it at the beginning of free agency. They're doing it now after Lamar says, I want to leave. Right?
Publicly.
Yeah. And shout out to Kay Woods for the donation. Says, if losing/trading Lamar meant drafting Will Anderson with the 4th pick and Hendon Hooker with the 23rd pick, cap room to trade for D-Hop, Who says no? I say no. You drastically downgrade your quarterback, and Will Anderson is not going to make a difference on this team if Hendon Hooker doesn't turn out to be good. And there's a lot of question marks with Hendon Hooker.
One, not the least of which is he's like a year younger than Lamar, and nowhere near the player that Lamar is. But
has none of the experience there.
No, right.
And I want Ravens fans to really think about what you're asking for when you talk about more, adding more to the defense. The defense gave up 18.5 points last year. How much better do you honestly expect them to get? Like, it's not realistic for you to say, we got to get that down to 14. We got to get that down to 13. Like, it's not going to happen. Now, you need to replace your starting corner, right? Because Marcus Peters, I don't think he's coming back. So that's fair. But anything else, man, like, it's blood from a stone, right? Like, it's the same thing on the offensive side. If you're scoring 33 points a game, you're not, adding another elite playmaker is not going to bump you to 40. Like, there's a cap on how good you can be, how much you can produce. And on the defensive side, they're pretty much there.
Yeah.
That's a great point there about the defense too, because like giving up 18 points a game, that's in this era, especially in the conference. You're in a conference with Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen and Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert, all these great quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. Giving up 18 points in this era, there's not much more you can ask. Like, you can throw as many skill players as you want on the defensive side. That's not going to affect a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes. We've seen the Eagles threw everything at him in the Super Bowl. It did not stop him. Many people thought that would be a stomping. It did not stop him. Like, as much as you love what the Ravens have done with their defense and how much they've invested in it as a Ravens fan, as much as you love that aspect, it's not going to be enough to get you to where you want to. You have to be able to invest in the offense. In this era, you got to be able to score points. And it's going to start with having a quarterback that can try to match up with somebody like a Patrick Mahomes, or quarterback that can match up with Josh Allen. That's why this idea of just drafting this other guy and trying to move forward, no matter how great your defense is, Mahomes is going to carve it up. Josh Allen knows what he's doing. So you have to have a quarterback, especially in a conference like this. If this was the NFC, maybe you have an argument. Still don't think you would get past a team like the Eagles. But in the AFC, with all these great quarterbacks, to just assume that you can go get a young guy out of the draft, put him into this, and surround him with great talent, and all of a sudden he's going to be able to go take on the Chiefs and outplay Mahomes in the playoffs and outplay Joe Burrow in the playoffs, that's just not realistic. It's just not realistic.
And it's kind of irresponsible, right? You're just assuming because you're just throwing out all the metrics that show that Lamar's one of the top passers in the league, right? You have all these metrics, all this data to show you he's very accurate, he's efficient, like he is one of the better passers in the league. You want to dismiss all that? Why? Because he's great with his legs. So you're gonna say, oh, we can replicate that with anybody, right? Like, as fans, you could say that. That's fine. As an organization, if you say that, that's just being highly irresponsible, and that's how teams turn around. They go from good to bad real quick.
Yep.
And I mean, to your point, also keeping it real, like the Eagles had a very good defense. The second half of that game, the Chiefs were down several wide receivers. Mm-hmm. Several of their guys were out of the game, and they scored every possession.
Unaffected. Didn't even phase Mahomes.
And Mahomes had a high ankle sprain.
Yep.
Yep.
That's the era we're in. So I don't know how much better you can make your defense and just assume it's going to be able to match up with those type of quarterbacks. We're not in that era anymore where the defense can just take over. If you have that quarterback that can make those type of plays, he doesn't even have to have the greatest of offensive lines. If he can get any sort of pass protection, I don't care how great your front seven is. If he gets any level of pass protection, it's over.
It's a wrap. It's a wrap. Now,
Joe Burrow made it with the worst offensive line in the league.
All the way to the Super Bowl.
Facts. And he, how many times he gets sacked in the playoffs? Like 58? Like every other dropback was a sack, man, but they still made it. Yeah. Now, Megan is a Seahawks fan. Shout out to Megan. Thanks for coming through. She says, Hendon Hooker is coming to the Hawks, Jose. So you prefer, like, how do you view Hendon Hooker? You think Hendon Hooker is a long-term thing? Like, he comes in and he sits on the bench for a little bit, while Geno's cooking, and then takes over for Geno. Because right now, I mean, Geno's one of the better quarterbacks in the league too. I wouldn't be looking to get him out of there anytime soon.
You know, I have Hendon Hooker making his NFL debut at 29.
I don't know if you want to do that. That's kind of
like I understand historically Geno hasn't looked great out there, but he looked really good. And then they just give him a new deal.
Yeah, they did.
They just gave him a new deal,
$100 million deal,
well deserved. And listen, man, it's not easy getting good quarterbacks, right? I wouldn't spend a first round pick on Hendon Hooker, or or even a second if he's there later on. If he drops like Malik Willis did, and you say, okay, we'll grab him and maybe we can develop him, and we'll see. But we have our starter. That's one thing. But drafting him to replace Geno, man, you got your quarterback, man. I wouldn't mess with that.
Yeah.
What's up, Josh Hoffman? Josh is here. He says, oh, he's on the show. He says, I was just thinking how the bring in a random young first round QB and see if they can keep up is being done by Pitt, not us. Oh, shot fired. Not nice, sir. Not nice. Suge Knight 323 is a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. Keeping it real. One of our good friends. And Josh is throwing shots at him. Okay.
Baby Mittens is not some random dude.
First of all, Kenny Pickett is a friend of the show. Kenny Pickett has donated to the show several times. Okay. And George Pickens. I mean, we haven't seen their faces, but it said it in the donation, so we assume they're real people. Okay.
Nobody lies on the internet. Is there?
Nobody lies. Nobody lies. Couple more. We go get to. Yeah, no problem. A couple more, and we'll get to the NBA when Keeping It Real comes back, because he is our NBA expert here. Okay. If you love how he's breaking down, and look, Keeping It Real knows sports. If you don't know by now, he knows sports. So make sure you go over there and subscribe to him. I'll link his channel in the description. Kogan Scherer says, assuming we put a little more to our wide receiver room first, how would you feel about us not re-signing Peters and picking up Shaq Griffin to fill our vacant CB2 spot? Good question, because me and B had this discussion right before we started, right? I am of the mindset of do not bring in another cornerback, okay? You ask and ask. It's like, when kids keep asking for stuff at the store, you give it for them, and then they go home and they're like, okay, now I want something else. No. Play with the toys that you begged me to buy, okay? The Ravens kept on begging to buy new cornerbacks every time a draft comes up, okay? You drafted Brandon Stevens. You drafted Jalen Armour-Davis. You drafted Pepe Williams, all right? Let them play. The rest of your secondary is airtight. Okay, you have to be able to make do with what you have. I don't think these guys are trash, right? Then they have played well. They're third, fourth round picks, but you believe in them. You keep saying that you believe in them, and they're developing. Well, let them develop. Let them go out there and play. Let them make some mistakes. You got two very good safeties to help cover that up. You have one of the top cornerbacks in the league to help cover that up. You have $100 million linebacker to help cover that up. Let those young guys cook. I say, if you're not bringing back Peters, you don't bring in anybody. Okay? I don't know if you heard that. Keeping it real, my stance on bringing in another cornerback is don't bring in any more corners. You keep drafting cornerbacks, let them play.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. We got a lot of young talent in the secondary. Just let them play and develop.
Well, I'm going to disagree. You have a lot of young players in the secondary. I don't know that I would call them talent, just like you have a lot of young players in the wide receiver room, right? And I think that they've done enough for right now. I'm not saying that they shouldn't add anyone else, but adding Odell Beckham, assuming he's healthy, he's obviously gonna take a physical and all that, and presumably they've seen him work out and everything, and they're satisfied that he's healthy. So a healthy Odell Beckham plus Nelson Aguilar is like the third, fourth receiver, and assuming you get back Rashad Bateman, that's a pretty decent wide receiver room. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so at this point, right now, with that wide receiver room, corner is the biggest need on the team. That second corner. Now, if you're sitting there in the first round and Joey Porter's available, Christian Gonzalez is available, what's his name? Is it Cam Smith? I believe is available. I think you take one of those guys. If those guys aren't available, then you go ahead and take another receiver and look to build that room for the future. But right now, as it stands, I think that second corner is the biggest need for the Ravens, because I don't want to hear about edge rusher. You drafted Oweh when we told you don't draft Oweh. You drafted Ajabo when we told you draft George Pickens. You're not going to listen to us. Then you deal with it. You deal with the mess you made over there.
But that's exactly how I feel about corners.
But they haven't drafted the guys high at corner. They drafted guys in the 4th round. Like, you're not expecting those guys to come in and start in the second, their first or second year.
But the problem I have with it though is that because what's the other cornerback's name that we gave away? Was it Sean Wade? Was that his name?
Yeah, Sean Wade.
Yes, that's another corner. That's the problem I have, because these are drafts where we have to get more picks. We had 10 or 11 draft picks, right? We didn't want to package any of those to trade up to get somebody more talented, right? We had to sit there and draft every one of those players. Well, if you're gonna do that, then no, you use those, right? It's the same way I feel about edge rusher too, right? You want to get rid of every good edge rusher we have, because you don't want to pay that position, and you're like, oh, we'll draft the guy. All right, well then then you sit with that. I want to focus on a left guard and right tackle, right, and more wide receivers. I don't care, man. Like, use those draft picks and focus on offense. Now, obviously, not every single pick has to be offense, but I want there to be a focus on that. But no, I don't want to see any more picks. I don't care who was there. I don't want to see any more picks at cornerback.
I'm saying the edge rushers have to sit with what they have, because again, those were 1st and 2nd round picks.
True.
And you expect those guys to come in and play well and be your starters. That's not what they have at corner. And even the highest pick that they have at corner is Brandon Stevens, who was a 3rd round pick who never played corner. So like, even that was one, they just set that one on fire. So
no, I understand.
I think that ideally they go out in free agency, find themselves a cheaper veteran to be the second corner, and then you can still go O-line or wide receiver in the 1st round. But if they're sitting there, at 22 or 23 or whatever it is, they're on the clock, and like I said, Joey Porter's there, and they haven't addressed corner, I think go ahead and take him.
I feel you. Like, no, I feel what you're saying, right? These are lower picks, but my point is, this team treats those lower picks like the 1st round picks, right? They don't care what round they're in. Picks are picks, and they're no, right. But that's exactly my point. Stop pretending like these lower round picks are like that players that are going to bring great value to the team, right? And be honest with yourself. But that's not what they do come draft day. They just want more picks. Let's trade back and get more, because these guys are going to be contributors. Well, then cool, let them contribute. Stop drafting that position and let the guys that you have contribute, right? And let them play.
Yeah, I think that DaCosta and the rest of the front office in Baltimore has a problem that a lot of fans have as well, where they act like the draft and your 53-man roster and who plays every week aren't connected.
Right. Yeah.
And, and it's like, hey, we're in this 4th round, and we got to take the value guys here. No, take the guys you need, right? You didn't need to draft 2 more tight ends and a punter and a fullback. You didn't need any of those guys. Not really. You went that whole draft without getting a wide receiver because there wasn't a value wide receiver there, and then you didn't have any wide receivers. Yep. It's what you do in free agency and in the draft. I mean, I know this is going to come as a shock. It directly impacts the 53 who are suiting up in week 1.
True.
And they don't operate like that. But I'm going to say that Odell, the desperation move of Odell and the not so inspired move of Nelson Aguilar is enough for right now that they can look in other areas with that 1st round pick.
You see, thank you, Josh. He says, basically, Jose doesn't want us near any CB cornerbacks. Like, you don't let your kids see Cocomel and Icon when you're trying to watch Ted Lasso. Thank you. Thank you. It's actually Minecraft videos in this house. Jacob loves Minecraft. But okay, all right. So keeping up with the draft talk, let's transition over to the Panthers. Okay, 100 people in here. Go ahead and hit that like button. If you're new, hit the subscribe button. All right. Also, keeping it real. Okay, go to his channel, hit the subscribe button. Okay, he gives you all the Ravens talk plus NBA plus anything else that you want over there. This man breaks it down. He breaks it down. You don't want to miss his takes. I'm telling you right now. All right. Yes. Oh, and if you're looking for the super chat, I know some of you guys are looking for a super chat. We don't do super chat over here. Not the normal way. Okay. This is the better way right here. $ LBHT Show. That's the Cash App. All right. And the pin link that you see in the chat box will take you to our Stream Elements page. Both ways. There you go. See, just like Suge did right there. You leave your donation, leave your comment, and you get the nice little animation right next to my face. Suge says, "Great show, fellas. Lakers about to go on a run in these playoffs. Me and B about to be celebrating together when we get another ring. I have a video request. Can Brodny do a video on the Jedi? Love hearing his thoughts, especially his thoughts on Yoda. B is not a fan of the Jedi. Okay. Listen, we can do a whole channel on the issues we have with Star Wars. That might be something we can discuss on the overtime show. All right.
I can boil it down for you real quick, keep it real. The Jedi are punks.
I agree.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
This look at that, man. Like nobody sticks up for the Jedi. What's that? I mean, nobody.
Okay? What do they really do? Like what do they really do? How much of an impact do they really make?
Oh, I wasn't going to stick up for him either. I was saying, oh man, that's sad, man. Wish somebody would help him out. Okay. Look, the Panthers.
Yes.
We thought when they traded for the number 1 pick that they were going to go strongly. We thought Anthony Richardson, right? Because Anthony Richardson had a great combine, right? And if it wasn't Anthony Richardson, CJ Stroud was somebody that was rumored that they liked a lot. Now you have Mel Kiper, you have Adam Schefter saying, "Hey, Bryce Young is going to be the pick." B, do you believe the reports, or is this all a smokescreen?
I think it's a smokescreen, and that's not to say that they won't necessarily end up drafting him. I think that they're trying to get Houston to give up a couple mid-round picks to move up to number 1 to get Bryce Young, and then they'll move down to number 2. I honestly think at this point, because it's funny that you've heard all different reports, right? It's Bryce Young's their guy, then it's Frank Reich is pounding the table for Anthony Richardson. And it's Tepper wants Young, Reich wants Stroud. The rest of the team want, the rest of the people want Young. They're all, it's in disarray. They don't know. So I think it's definitely a smokescreen. I've got to believe that, moving up from 9 to 1, giving up DJ Moore, giving up all those picks, they're going to take a chance on what they see as the most potential out of this class in Anthony Richardson.
Okay.
I'm still leaning that way.
Keeping it real. What say you?
Yeah, I was actually going to ask about that. Like, I was going to ask in terms of who did you really truly believe? I think Anthony's probably the pick for them for the most part. I would agree. I really think it's a smokescreen. A lot of people like Bryce Young, and the fear that Carolina might go with that at 1 could be enough to convince them to try and give up some picks so they can move up to that number 1 spot. So honestly, I think Carolina has an idea of who they want to pick. And I think Anthony is probably, if I was to say, I think Anthony's maybe 1 on their list and CJ might be 2 for them. And then I would look at Bryce number 3 if that was to be the case. But I don't think Bryce Young is somebody that I think it's possible that they can definitely take him, but I think it's more so of a situation where they're trying to definitely convince someone like Houston to definitely give up a pick, or maybe even the Colts at that 4th pick, just give something up to try and get that number 1 pick, which could definitely help out considering the fact that they gave up a lot just to get that number 1 pick. So they may be trying to get definitely some picks back in regards to that, especially since everyone seems to be keen in on Bryce, and they probably are like, I'm thinking we're focused on Anthony. That's who we want to get, but we want to see if we can get somebody like Houston to try and get that number 1 spot. We can drop the 2 and we'll be fine taking Anthony, but we'll also get picks back because, losing someone like DJ Moore and giving up those picks just to move all the way to number 1, we kind of want something back. And if we know that Houston is going for Bryce Young, that works perfectly for us. I think they may be looking for Anthony, but they also want to see if they can get something from Houston so they can jump to 1, get some picks, and then take our guy at 2.
Yeah.
Listen. I'm sorry.
Look. I have some hands-on experience with this whole situation. Okay. I don't know if you know what keeping it real. We have a dynasty fantasy football league. Okay. and I traded for the number 1 pick. Okay, and everybody want to know what you gonna do. What you gonna do? And I said I'm leaning towards quarterback, man. But I knew there was somebody in the league that really wanted Bryce Young. He was picking number 2. He was picking 2, right? Same scenario. Mm-hmm. So I started every time somebody asked, I put some Bryce Young emojis, some Bryce Young, gifts in the chat. Let them know Bryce Young coming here. Okay, we going Bryce Young, baby. Because I just wanted to see. I just kind of wanted to check to see is he desperate enough to try to move up to that number 1 pick, right? Is he gonna is he getting nervous that I might take his guy? But I didn't really want Bryce Young, right? And I didn't, and I'm one of the nicer guys in the league, the nicer owners. Okay, this is a very cutthroat league. Okay, this is hashtag no gentleman's league.
That's not true.
So I didn't take his guy. I went with Anthony Richardson because that's what I was leaning towards. I was leaning towards Anthony Richardson or CJ Stroud. I think this is the same scenario for the Panthers, man. And like B has said before, they put this coaching staff together for a player like Anthony Richardson. It makes sense, right? Bigger risk, but higher ceiling, and a coaching staff like this that knows how to develop quarterbacks. You go for it, right?
Yeah. So. And I don't buy into Frank Reich saying he doesn't have a size preference in quarterbacks because that's the talk. Bryce Young is short, and everybody who's ever taken a snap for Frank Reich is like 6'2", 6'3", or taller. Yeah. He's like, oh, that's just a coincidence. No, it's not, Frank. Come on, come on now. So I don't think he's going to abandon that philosophy and go with the 5'10" guy. And listen, I don't like the fact that people compare Anthony Richardson to Cam so much. I think it puts some undue pressure on him. Yeah, but also he's done it himself. But
he compares, to Cam and Lamar.
Cam and Lamar. But there's a difference between you saying, "Hey, I'm like those guys. I'm going to give myself a nickname like that," and then everybody being like, "That's the next Cam Newton. He better come in and ball out as a rookie." But I think that kind of Carolina bringing in the next Cam is going to be something that's difficult for them to pass up.
True.
Yeah, but listen, to be fair, any number 1 overall pick is going to get some sort of comparison.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean that comes with the territory, And I'm sorry, man. When you
have
that kind of,
I don't remember Baker's.
Listen, man. What do you want me to say there?
I don't remember much from Baker.
Well, hey, listen. He got hyped up, especially after his rookie year, and then they brought in Odell. You had people saying they're going to go 16-0. Yeah. They're going to win the Super Bowl. He's an early MVP candidate. The expectation was there. It's just that when he didn't live up to it, people just looked the other way. They didn't really criticize him.
Yeah.
But there was expectation with Baker. But yeah, what was I going to say? Oh, yes. It's look, we're an hour in, okay? There's still 90 people in here. Go ahead and hit that like button. If you are new, hit that subscribe button. We are going to transition to some NBA talk because the NBA draft is here. But first, before we do that, what?
NBA playoffs.
What? I said draft. Draft. I'm sorry. I still got draft in my mind. Yes.
Yeah, we're still far away from that one.
Yeah. The NBA playoffs is here. But no, before we get to that, a word from our sponsors. Ourselves. Yes. Look. Patreon.com/LBHT Show. Okay, there's a lot of good things happening over there. If you go to that site, okay, just go there. Patreon.com/LBHT Show. All right, you got $3 in your pocket. Go ahead and sign up. Okay, and sign up soon because that price is actually changing. I've been hinting for a while that the price is going up. We're gonna go that low tier is gonna go up to $5 pretty soon. Still an excellent deal. All right, you see everybody that's here in the chat. They're trying to get us to read their comments. We can't read the comments like we used to because you guys are showing so much love. But we have a Discord. If you sign up to the Discord, that chat is going 24/7. We're in there. We have Coach Evans that's in our Discord. We got Hendo. We got Suge. A bunch of people are in there. All right. As well as their Discord as well. We're in their Discord as well. All right. So we have a few tiers here. He's going to tell you what you get for those tiers, and we'll show you some merch real quick.
And so for the $3 tier, that gets you into our NFL Pick'em League that we hold every season. We give away a custom LBHT trophy or plaque to the winner of that. Shout out to Hendo, who somehow.
Yes, that's the plaque. That's the new plaque. These are our previous champions. That was Mikey last year holding the LBHT trophy. Coach Evans won the first trophy right there. All right, and that's our current champion.
Yeah, so whatever. That gets you into the like I said, the Pick'em League. The $10 tier will get you the LBHT crew coin that Jose has right there. And that'll also get you into our fantasy football league. We have a dynasty league going on where we give away a custom championship belt that looks something like that. It's going to be upgraded for this coming season, so it's not going to look exactly like that, but that's the one we gave away this year. Shout out to Buck for winning the first season of our dynasty league. We also have a redraft league that we do for fun, but if there's enough interest, we can convert that to a dynasty league as well. Then we have the $20 tier, which is a combined tier for this show and our boxing podcast that we do with OTR Mike, Ring Kings podcast. So you get everything that I mentioned, as well as our custom poker set featuring our top 25 fighters of all time, which was a series that we did, a 5-part series. It was a lot of fun. We had Suge, we had our guy Deshaun, and we just had a nice, what was it, like 3-hour conversation about the top 25 fighters of all time.
Yeah, so it's broken down to 2 parts, so it's 2 videos.
Definitely. No, that one was 5, I believe, right?
That was I'm sorry, that was 5. Yeah. That was 5. Yeah.
So definitely check that out if you haven't already. And we are going to be streaming live on the 22nd for the Gervonta Davis and Ryan Garcia fight. So, go ahead over there, hit that subscribe button and join us for that. And then we have a brand new tier. It's a $60 tier. That is for people who are looking to get into YouTube, or maybe just recently got into content creation. It is it's a content creators tier, and what we are going to be doing is just kind of consulting, essentially, right? If you sign up, you'll get a StreamYard with us, Hendo, OTR Mike, and we just try to give you tips and tricks for starting out your channel, getting everything moving in the right direction, help you avoid a lot of the common pitfalls that even we had to go through, just with trial and error. And that'll also get you into our content creators channel in our Discord, where you can ask questions of anybody in the Discord. We all kind of help each other out in there. We have a list of collaborators that we worked with, artists, editors, things like that you'll get access to. And I think that's about it for that. I may be forgetting something, but it's up on the patreon.com/LBHT show. You can take a look at all the benefits there.
There you go.
And then, I'm sorry, the last thing, every tier gets you into the overtime show that we do following the live show every week. And then also, obviously, everything gets you into our Discord server.
Yes. Speaking of the overtime show, what are we discussing tonight? Well, look, we're going to discuss the NFL draft. Okay. The NFL draft, we all love the draft. We all get excited about the draft. But is the draft a good thing or a bad thing? Me and B say it's a bad thing. Boo. Well, why do we think it's a bad thing? And what should be in place of the NFL draft? We're going to get into that on the overtime show. All right. Patreon.com/LBHT Show is where you can find that. Also, look, speaking of creators, all you guys that are thinking, guys and gals that are thinking about YouTube or have started up a channel, look, I got 2 affiliate links in the description, right? There's a lot in the description. Go down where it says think about becoming a content creator. There are 2 links there, one for vidIQ, one for TubeBuddy. Those are great tools. If you are thinking about doing it, or you start up a channel and you need help with titles, thumbnails, and things like that, click on that link. Okay, that helps us out. But that will help you out greatly coming up with all that stuff. All right. Also, you like what we're wearing here? This is a little vintage here. This is not in the store anymore. But if you want one, ask us. We can work something out. But what B's wearing right there, I know it's getting warm out there, right? We're gonna have some more summer gear. Go over here, lbhtshow.com/shop. Okay, that's where you can find look at that couple. That couple looks so happy. They look so happy wearing that Ring Kings merch. Okay, this guy looks sad only because we told him he can't keep the shirt. We said, look, once we're done shooting these photos, man, you gotta You gotta take that off, return it. He said, "Oh man,
that dude looks like Bryce Young finding out that all he's getting from Carolina is the T-shirt." He I did forget one thing for the creator tier. We also do a monthly live Q&A for everyone in that tier. If you have any ongoing questions,
all right,
need help.
All right, and a quick shout out to the Ravens Roundtable. We do the Ravens Roundtable every Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on Sip2 Tally Films. So make sure you go over there and subscribe to Coach Evans' channel. All right. Also subscribe over here. We got Hendo who's on the show. Subscribe to the Roll Pod. Okay. Subscribe to Deep Cover Pod. Subscribe to Ring Kings Pod. Subscribe to Open Mic with OTR Mike. All right. And also special shout out to our guy Ferris from the highlights. Okay, subscribe over there. And Mr. Suge Knight 323. Look, we run like Wu-Tang here. Okay, you gotta subscribe. You need all of our tapes. Okay, you need all of our CDs. Okay, keeping it real too. You need to subscribe to him. Raven C, you need to subscribe to him. I'm gonna get you guys the logos here. I'm gonna put them up on here as well. All right, but subscribe to the whole crew. You want the whole experience. Okay, we're trying to keep you. We're trying to save you from getting lost in the YouTube universe, okay? Because it can get a little weird out there, okay? We give you the guide, everything that you need to know. If you can't remember all that, just go to LBHTShow.com, okay? We'll put you in the right direction, all right? Okay, guys, NBA playoffs. They kicked off last night. Let's start. B is a Los Angeles Lakers fan. I am a Brooklyn Nets fan. Okay, the Lakers won their game last night, but boy, were they trying?
Nothing. They won their game. They're on to Memphis. We don't need to hear anything else about last night's game.
Well, we do. We need to get Keevan opinion. Keep it real. How do you feel about that? I have some thoughts, but how did you feel about last night's game?
Okay, so this Timberwolves team that they went up against, well, one, they were already missing Rudy Gobert because he got suspended, but this is a team that the Lakers, especially with LeBron and AD there, they're better than them. However, that was a game early on. They showed some struggles, and the Timberwolves were definitely taking it to them. I'm glad they won the game. That was a great. They took control in overtime, but that's a game that shouldn't have gone to overtime in the first place. Once Schroeder hit the three, that should have been it. But my concern, this is not even just for this game. This is moving forward, and if the Lakers are going to pull off a championship run, it comes down to him, Anthony Davis. What was that in that situation? You're up 3. You just need to make a stop. You're playing Anthony Davis fouling right there.
It was an out of body experience. You know what that remind me of? That remind me of J.R. Ryder.
Yeah.
Didn't that remind you of that in that Golden State game? He's like, I thought we was up. Or not Ryder, Smith. Not Ryder, Smith.
No, J.R. Smith.
Yeah, Smith.
Yeah.
He's like, I thought we was up. Like, I couldn't believe what I was watching.
The awareness, you got to be more aware there. Anthony Davis has kind of just been a concern here because he's had his highs. Obviously, he's had his highs where he's played up to the potential that we always talk about him, being one of the best players in the game. He's had moments where he's played like that, but it's been far too inconsistent. And that becomes a problem for me because there are times where AD should be taking over in certain situations, in certain matchups, and he's just not doing that. I'm glad they won the game, but I really do have concerns because AD has to be the guy that's somewhat leading the charge. Obviously, LeBron's being there. LeBron's going to be LeBron. But if you want to get to where you want to get to, which is a championship, AD has to be better, especially in situations like that. You get up 3 it's basically somewhat of an elimination game, even though the Lakers would have had another chance had they had lost that one. But you treat it like it's an elimination game. Yeah. In a situation like that, you're up 3. You got to be more aware to foul in that situation. And AD's had several moments like this throughout the season where he just has lacked the awareness in certain situations, and it's cost him. It's legitimately cost him. It's a concern that I have here. For the game itself, I like the competitiveness. I'm glad the play-in tournament has been competitive, because if this was just straight up blowouts, this would have been a massive failure. But these games have been competitive, so that's great. The game itself was great. Credit to the Timberwolves. I love the way they came out here and played, but Lakers found the way to win it in overtime. But I do have concerns with Anthony Davis. For the Timberwolves themselves, I love Anthony Edwards. He's still growing. And I think this was a game that showed that he still has some growth to do. He still has some aspects of his game that he needs to improve on.
Yeah.
Which is something, again, he's young. He's going to continue to grow. So I like the progression I'm seeing with Anthony Edwards, the fact that, there's some aspects of his game that he still needs to grow. And this is a game that showcases why he still has some work to do. But I wouldn't be too majorly concerned in terms of Anthony Edwards. For the Timberwolves as a whole, I mean, I don't see where exactly they're going moving forward. I mean, their future isn't exactly looking the brightest since, trading for Rudy Gobert, giving up that whole package. And then that whole situation happened, which led to the suspension. So in terms of Timberwolves, I don't know what's going to happen to them. They're going to get another crack to see if they can get the 8th seed. I don't know if they're going to get it.
Who do they play next?
It depends on who wins tonight. It's either going to be the Thunder or the Pelicans.
Chances are it's going to be the Thunder. I mean, Pelicans, there's no Zion. So I think SGA can get the job done for them. So I think it could be OKC and then Minnesota. And if I look at a matchup like that, I think OKC could be the one to get it, which would be an interesting matchup. OKC and Denver in the first round would be nice. But Minnesota, there's not much. I don't see much of a bright future for them right now, even though they have a great player like Anthony Edwards. But I don't see much there. But for the Lakers, since they are in the playoffs and many believe this team could go on a run because of LeBron and AD, you have to have AD be just better in those situations. I've watched a lot of Lakers games this season, and there's been too many times in key situations where Anthony Davis hasn't been aware, and he would just make the most boneheaded mistake at the worst possible moment. Or there'll just be games where he has the matchup and he's just either not being aggressive or he's just not playing well at all. This is a situation where you need Anthony Davis. You need to see bubble AD. I don't know how. I'm still, to this day, I still think about this. I don't know how this man was able to, 1, play at that level consistently, and 2, stay healthy throughout the entirety of the bubble. But you need that guy. And he may not be that guy right now, but you need at least some level of consistency from him. I don't care what LeBron brings to the table. LeBron's going to be LeBron. You need Anthony Davis to play the way you've seen him play at times this season. You need that. You cannot sit back and rely on these other guys. D'Lo's great. Some of the production he brings there is great. Obviously, you love some of the other guys here. Schroeder's definitely great. You love some of the pieces you have here. Obviously getting Beasley as well. He's great production. You got some pieces. You got some shooters that definitely help out for the most part. But it's going to come down to LeBron and AD. And in the first round matchup with somebody like Memphis, who's still relatively young and still looking to put it together, they're a good defensive team. And you're going to have certain matchups where AD should be able to take over. And if you don't capitalize on that and AD's not playing to his game, it could be a problem. So in terms of this game, I'm glad they got the win. They escaped a game they shouldn't have lost. But moving forward, it all comes down to Anthony Davis, which is where I gotta look at you, Mr. Lakers fan. How you feel about AD in terms of those chances? Because it's all on him.
Listen, I was watching in horror, and I thought him sprinting to the corner to block a shot that was never going in. Exactly. Mike Conley was never going to make that shot, and I mean, just thank God he didn't pull out a miracle and that shot dropped and he got the foul. But to your point, yes, Anthony Davis is kind of the key. LeBron is going to be LeBron. D'Angelo had a terrible game, but I think D'Angelo bounces back. I'm not worried about D'Angelo. I think Dennis Schroeder, he's going to show up. He's going to do Dennis Schroeder things. Austin Reeves will be fine. They're going to get what they get from Hachimura. I think everybody is cool except Anthony Davis. And I think, honestly, the problem for Anthony Davis is he has a problem being the number 2 guy in LA to LeBron. I don't think he likes it. And I think that when LeBron is leading the team, he's disengaged. And I think that, they need to play through Anthony Davis, get him involved early, get him touches on basically every possession, and keep his head in the game. Because like I said, I think that, when LeBron was out, he played great.
Yeah.
He stepped up and he was Anthony Davis for that whole stretch. He's like, okay, well, LeBron's not here. I'm the man now. They need me to win these games. And he delivered for the most part. I mean, there was a game here or there, but for the most part, he was Anthony Davis. And now when LeBron comes back, he's like, oh, I guess I'm the number 2 again. I guess 17 points is cool for me. And it's just like, why? Like you said, you have moments where you should be dominating, and he just doesn't want to. It seems like.
Yeah.
So I think that they do need to go through Davis and let him get his touches, let him get his numbers early, and LeBron can take over when he knows he needs to take over. But they got to keep Anthony Davis engaged in these games, and then honestly, if he's engaged, LeBron stays healthy, Russell, bounces back from that game, which I don't have any concern about that. I don't think that there's really a team in the West that I'm worried about at that point. I think Golden State is probably the biggest threat just because they have all of that championship experience. They have those great players and everything. But I would take the Lakers over just about every team in the West if Anthony Davis is playing like himself.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's the problem, man. Like, I think they do try to get him involved early, right? I don't think LeBron is trying to get going, right out the gate. I think he does try to get AD going out there, but who knows what motivates this man, right? Who knows? Like, he just, I don't know, man. Like, I used to think he had it. I thought he was going to be the guy at this point, right? Once they traded for him, but I don't know, man. Like I saw Karl Anthony Towns cooking last night, and there was a time where we would have thought the two of them would go back and forth, right? Like, I thought AD would be considered up there with Giannis, with the top big men in the sport, and there's no way. Like
Nah.
Cat was cooking, and he's just gonna own AD. That's just what it was gonna be. Now AD didn't have a bad game per se, but like you want that next level AD. You want to see that where like they can go back and forth, and this is going to be a battle, and then LeBron could feed off of that. But LeBron's got to do all the heavy lifting still at 38 years old. They can't. Well, be the case.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Like they come down in the half court and they give the ball to LeBron. He stands back and he looks at the defender. He's like, "No, not you." And they run him off of screens until he gets the defender that he wants. And then it's either, hey, I'm going to get my own shot, or I'm going to find one of you. And a lot of times it's Anthony Davis. Mm-hmm. But what I'm saying is what Anthony Davis wants, I think, is for them to cross that half court line and dump it down to Anthony Davis, and the play is running through him. Not LeBron decides I get the ball on this possession. It's I get the ball because I'm Anthony Davis. And then, depending on how it's going, maybe I'll pass it off to one of y'all. And that's how he wants them to play. And, I think that they got to try it. They got to just run it through him and see if that keeps him, like I said, keeps him engaged, keeps him in the game. Because, like you said, keeping it real, there's times when, like, even when he's playing well, it's just there's times when like you don't really notice he's on the court, and then there's times when you notice he's on the court for all the wrong reasons.
Yep. But with that situation in terms of like running plays for AD, part of that has to deal with LeBron just like dominating the ball, which again, he's always going to make the right play. But I think another element that would have to be talked about there is Ham as well. Is he making those? Are you running plays for AD? Like Ham has to sit back and say, we got to get AD involved. We got to get him engaged. We need to have a set of plays that are set up for AD to get the ball and let him go to work. And I don't think the Lakers have that.
Well, it was funny because he made a comment about that too. When LeBron was out, and they had started. I forget who they were playing, but like AD had a really strong second half, and they pulled out the win. And a reporter asked him about that, like what kind of led to the turnaround. And Ham was like, well, his dumbass coach started calling plays for Anthony Davis is what happened. And so, like they know, but I think, with LeBron wants to dominate the ball. He wants the ball in his hands. He wants to be the playmaker. He wants to make those decisions. And I think you got to go to LeBron and say, hey, do you want to dominate the ball or do you want to win a ring?
Yeah. Okay. So let's move on to the team that's not in the play-in. My Brooklyn Nets. Yeah. All right, this is not much to talk about here. It's gonna be Philly in like 5 or 6.
Yeah,
I'm not
Philly.
delusional about that. I just want to say this though. I am happy for the bounce back for the Nets, man. Like it was pretty much a disaster from the offseason for them, right? With KD and Kyrie. And this is why I spoke glowingly about the organization. I'm pro player, right? But man, when a team gives you everything that you could ask for, what are you crying about? And that's what KD and Kyrie did in Brooklyn. There was nothing that they should have been crying about. The team gave them everything, and this team knows that front office knows how to put together a good team. That's why Sean Marks survived there throughout the whole ordeal, because he gets players. I mean, look at Nick Claxton right now. Nick Claxton is about to be all defensive on an all defensive team, right? They got him the second round, or the end of the first round. I mean, they always get that talent. Spencer Dinwiddie, who they just traded back for, he was on their D League. You talk about D'Angelo Russell. They revived his career. They know what they're doing there. And when they traded away KD, obviously I wasn't, it wasn't like the happiest moments, because I like KD as a player. But the stick was getting old. They got rid of Kyrie and they brought in Mikal Bridges. I wasn't happy about that. I didn't think Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson was enough. But Mikal Bridges is playing really well. He's looking very good. So the pieces that he got back for him, obviously it's not KD and Kyrie. Obviously we don't have a chance to win a title. I think Philly is a very good team. I don't think we're gonna beat them. But moving forward, I'm glad that we made the playoffs. I'm glad we were the 6th seed. They're showing that they're still a competitive team and they can turn things around quickly. I think in the offseason, they can make some serious moves, right? They can put together some pieces to trade for somebody. I mean, I know Trae Young has been rumored to be on the block. That's a potential player right there, or somebody else that we're not thinking about right now. But this team knows how to put together a competitive team. My only concern is, are they going to be scared off from trying to get superstars there after what happened with KD and Kyrie? So, so you are keeping it real. Your team is what, the Bucks?
No.
Who's it? No, Heat. It's the Heat. Yes, I remember.
No confirmation on that. You're just gonna.
No, I remember
I don't want
to. So obviously the Heat lost last night to the Hawks.
In
so
devastating fashion.
Okay, listen. It's over. It's done with, right? Now they have a shot. They still have a shot to get in.
I don't want that shot.
They have to play.
I don't want that shot.
They will have to play.
Toronto is looking like.
Either it's gonna be Toronto or Chicago.
Yeah, Toronto's currently up 71-57.
All right, it's gonna be Toronto
halfway through the third.
We'll see if Chicago bounces back, but it might be Toronto.
So you don't think you can beat Toronto?
It's well, okay. See, here's the thing with a lot of Heat fans, especially with this season. This season's been so frustrating because we were a team that went from being one shot away from the NBA Finals to potentially missing the playoffs. And with yesterday, that was a complete disaster. You got outbeat in every fashion. They shot better from the field and from three. They were a better defensive team, but the biggest glaring part was the rebounding. 20 offensive rebounding. 20 offensive rebounding. No, not just rebound, 20 offensive rebounding. The amount of second chance points they had in that game, it was awful in general. A lot of Heat fans have been frustrated with this season, and yeah, injuries have played a role, but it all starts with this team not making the necessary moves to add pieces, especially when you've lost guys. When you first lost somebody like a PJ Tucker, we didn't replace PJ Tucker with anything for much of the season. We sat back and said, hey, Caleb Martin, you want to play the 4? You're a bench player, but we'll put you in the starting lineup. Let's see how that works out for you. You still got Kyle Lowry here, which you didn't move, and he was injured for much of the season. Yeah. And then you're looking at some of your other parts here. You're working with Gabe Vincent in the starting lineup. Again, another player that should not be in the starting lineup. You still got Jimmy here, who, again, we talked about this for much of the first half of the season. Jimmy was coasting, and we all recognize that because if you saw Jimmy played before the All-Star game and after the All-Star game, you could tell that man was coasting.
Yeah.
Tyler Hero, in some cases, did not make the progression that we wanted.
No.
You got a guy in Duncan Robinson who you pay all that money to, and you can't even put him on the court to play him. He's unplayable. So he's got
I didn't understand that move. I didn't understand that move.
I didn't understand it either. You get another guy in Strus who, again, was playing phenomenal last year, and then this year apparently just fell off the cliff and forgot how to shoot the basketball. And you got all these things here. But the thing that makes it the most frustrating is you look at one of your pioneers on this team in Bam Adebayo, and we just got to come to a realization as Heat fans, this guy, he's not the guy. He's just not that guy. I love Bam, but he's never going to be the offensive player we want him to be. He'll have moments where he'll shine, but he's never going to be the offensive guy we want him to be. We love what he brings defensively. Offensively, he's just not that guy, and he's never going to be that guy. I am not going to spend another offseason on my channel talking about how this man has to be more aggressive when you're in the paint. We're giving you the ball there. There are times where Spoelstra is running plays for this man in the post. What does he do? Oh, let me throw it back to Jimmy. Apparently, the way the Heat offense runs is either you give Jimmy the ball and let him do whatever the hell he wants, or you just start passing it around and hope someone can shoot a three somewhere. Whenever Bam gets the ball, it's just like he either is going to shoot a hook shot, which will probably be short, or he's just not going to shoot the ball. So, like, it's a whole mess. And what makes it worse is just how they looked defensively. Because if there's anything you can say, Miami's offense, even last year, in the half-court set was not good. They were great in transition and in the fast break, but in the half-court set, they were not. Defensively, they were at least solid. They were a really great defensive team last year. There's a big part of why they became the number one seed and got all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals. This year, they have not been that team defensively. They've taken a drop defensively, and yesterday showed it. They tried to run the same thing they did last year against Atlanta and assumed the Hawks weren't going to adjust. They started off early on by trying to trap Trae Young and get him out of the game the same way they did in the first round. And obviously, the Hawks are a basketball team. You're going to make adjustments. We lost that series because you kept trapping Trae Young, so we're going to make adjustments. And Trae, he was very patient. In that playoff series, he was very frazzled, and he just continued to try and shoot the ball. Here, he wasn't taking those deep threes. He was just getting his guys involved. And because he kept doing that, because they kept trapping him, guys are just getting left wide open all over the court. Trae Young's at the top of the key, throw it to the corner, nobody's there because they're trapping him. They're running the same plays. They're not making any adjustments. I'm looking at my apparently he forgot how to coach. I'm looking at my coach in Eric Spoelstra saying, bro, are you going to make an adjustment? Defensively, why are we leaving guys wide open? It's been a mess of a year, and that game showcased it. And Heat fans are tired. You didn't do anything in the offseason. You didn't do anything in the trade deadline. No players going everywhere. I'm seeing KD go to the freaking Phoenix Suns. We couldn't get him. Nothing's happening. And what did you gift us with? Cody Zeller and Kevin Love. And that's supposed to get us to where we want to get to. Now you're sitting here and playing. Kevin Love's been solid.
Is he getting minutes? Okay.
He's getting minutes. He's been solid, but that's not going to change anything in the Eastern Conference. You sat back. Boston got better. Milwaukee got better. Philadelphia got better. You did not get better. And then it all comes down to you being in a play-in game, which, again, is because of this inability to do anything consistently offensively and being poor defensively. And honestly, I'll tell you right now, the moment I knew the season was over was against your Nets. In the first half, that was a must-win game for Miami if they wanted to get that playoff seeding. Same thing for the Nets. First half, they're shooting the ball well, especially Strus. He's going off. And I'm watching the Nets, and they're not panicking at all. They're not frazzled. They're giving up the points, but they're not frazzled. That third quarter came over, and the Nets played solid, fundamental basketball, and the Miami Heat had no response and got blown out. When I saw that, I knew we were in trouble. So I'm not even surprised by what happened with the Hawks. Heat fans are expecting it. So in terms of your question, sorry for this rant, but it had to happen.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
In terms of your question about taking on the Raptors, do I want to? No. Do many Heat fans want to? No, I've seen a lot of people say, let's just lose that game, miss the playoffs, get in the lottery, and see what we can do moving forward. Because why would we want to get into the playoffs to take on a Milwaukee Bucks team that is better than the last time we faced it, that have already won a championship? Why would we want to go to the playoffs to get swept? Why would we want to go to the playoffs to get swept when we could just miss the playoffs and be in the lottery? I'd rather do that than just go and get swept. What is a playoff appearance going to do for Miami when you were one shot away from the NBA Finals in the previous season? Let's just miss the playoffs. So, Toronto, please just go to the playoffs. Have fun. Good luck with Milwaukee. I do not want to have to sit here and have to cover Miami against Milwaukee because there's nothing to talk about.
Hey.
Agent, he says the Lakers ain't supposed to be in the playoffs, and Devin Booker was right when he said the NBA was rigging games to get them in the playoffs. Okay, you're talking about rigging games, and your first sentence said the Lakers aren't supposed to be in the playoffs. So what does that mean?
I don't know how that works because, I mean, even if we didn't have the play-in tournament, they were like, what, the 7th seed? So technically, by that standard, they would be in the playoffs. So how does that work?
So what do you mean they weren't supposed to be in the playoffs? It sounded like you wanted to rig it the other way there, Agent. You a little upset?
Unless he's saying that Russell Westbrook trade to get D'Angelo Russell and Malik Beasley and all those other guys, unless you're saying that trade wasn't supposed to go down, which again, still, how does that work in this aspect?
Hey, the Thunder are benefiting greatly from that trade.
They really are.
So
all right, look.
Very fair all the way around.
I wanted to do predictions, but I also want to bring you back on later on in the playoffs. So we're gonna hold off on predictions now. We're giving our reaction to the playing games as the rounds go through. We'll have you back on. We'll give some reactions to the games and we'll give our predictions a little bit later.
I do have one more question though for our guys. What are your thoughts on the New York Knicks?
Oh,
interesting. Honestly, I think that might be one of the more interesting matchups in the first round because I think they got Cleveland in the first round.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that is going to be very interesting. First of all, we got to say this: the Knicks did a great. I want to say this before we get into the Knicks. Every single Dallas Mavericks fan needs to be absolutely disgusted and pissed off at their owner, Mark Cuban, because there is no reason Jalen Brunson should be a New York Knick. There's no reason for that to be a case. One of the main factors as to why they got to the Western Conference Finals was because of him. You had him alongside Luka, and he was making some big shots down the stretch, especially in that second round against Phoenix. So losing him was huge for Dallas, but it was everything for the Knicks because Jalen Brunson has been fantastic with the Knicks this year. And honestly, I don't think they're in this situation that they're in right now as the 5th seed if it's not for Jalen Brunson.
Oh, facts.
He's just been so great for them. Julius Randle, I look at this series and I think this is a chance for Julius Randle to show that he's learned from his first time being there. And he's going to have help, but when he got there, well, first time being there as a Knick, but when he got there, that first time in the playoffs, bro, he was shell-shocked. He was shell-shocked, and the way he played, that was not the guy that we looked at that was the most improved player. He didn't look like that at all in the playoffs. Right. I think this is a time and opportunity for him to redeem himself, especially in the fans' eyes, because Knicks fans gave him hell after that performance. So he has an opportunity to redeem himself. Having someone like Jalen Brunson, you also have RJ Barrett there. They got a lot of great pieces, a lot of young talent there, and I like the Knicks. I don't know how they're going to match up with Cleveland because, again, Cleveland's another team that's also young. They have great picks. And just like the Knicks went out and made sure they can sign Brunson to try and compete, the Cavaliers made sure to go get their guy in Donovan Mitchell. And I think that is going to be the difference maker in that series between Cleveland and the Knicks. I think Donovan Mitchell is going to be the key here in terms of the Cavs. I'm not going to give a prediction yet, but I see that being a really interesting matchup. So I like the Knicks season. I like what they've been able to do. This is definitely a lot of progression, and getting Jalen Brunson was probably one of the best moves of any team in that offseason because that did so much for the Knicks to propel them to where they are. And yeah, he's just been a great addition to the team. So I like what I'm seeing for the Knicks, and I like what I saw from them this season.
Speaking of the Mavs, the Nets traded malcontent Kyrie Irving to the Mavericks. Okay, yep. Kyrie had a lot to say. Right, he did a lot of chirping. Okay, A lot of things to say about the Nets and how they did business. And you know, when they traded KD, he was like, "Oh, I'm glad he got up out of there." Like it was hell being in Brooklyn because they treated him so poorly because they didn't let him just take off whenever he wanted to take off. Oh yeah, they did. That's right. I forgot about that. You know, and apparently the reason why he wanted out of there is because they offered him close to a max deal. They offered him a guaranteed deal, except for the last year of that deal. They wanted that to be, they wanted to incentivize him a little bit, like, hey, get us to a championship, okay, and we'll guarantee that last year. He took that as an insult. He took that as disrespect, and he said, you know what, trade me now. And they traded him to the Mavericks, and it's, as soon as he goes to the Mavericks, who were the 4th seed, okay, they just got worse and worse and worse to the point where they're not even in the play-in tournament. They're completely out of the playoffs. Luka is very unhappy, and there are rumblings that maybe he might ask for a trade. Okay, that's what Kyrie did. Kyrie did that in about 20 games. Okay, that's what Kyrie did.
I used to smile when I played basketball.
Yeah, and Kyrie, Kyrie, listen, man, Kyrie Irving. He messed up. I don't think he's going to get anything close to the deal that Brooklyn offered him moving forward. He's still an amazing player, but I just don't think players want to play with him anymore. They won't say it out loud, but he's that guy that you're just like, no, he's cool. Man, don't sign him though. Don't sign him. I don't want to play with him. I think that's it. I think that's it for Kyrie. He'll get work, obviously, because he can play. But those max deals, I think that's it. That's a wrap. So, hey man, I'm not one of those. I don't like to be petty like that. Players ask for what you want. If you can get it, cool. But the way him and KD can play, man, it just left a sour taste in my mouth, man. Because yes, it was for my Nets, but I think if they did that for any team, I wouldn't like that, because what more could we have done? Like, what more can a team offer you? You like everything that you asked for, new coach, certain players there, they did it for you, and you didn't live up to expectations. That's just what it came down to.
It sounded like you really enjoyed going after Kyrie and him missing the playoffs in Dallas. It sounded like you enjoyed that a lot.
Well, it's bittersweet because I like Luka, right? I want Luka to succeed.
Luka's going to be just fine when he forces that trade to LA. Don't worry. Kyrie and Anthony Davis play together down there in Dallas.
Yeah.
And Luka will be the new face of the franchise for the Lake Show.
And Luka, I'm just saying, if you need a place, we got a spot for you in South Beach. Miami is a great place to live.
Don't nobody want to play.
Luka needs to go.
Listen, you're not gonna get the ball if you go over there. LeBron's not gonna give you the ball. Listen, Jimmy Butler is a very unselfish player. He doesn't even want to dominate the ball. If you go to LA, LeBron's gonna take it.
You know why Jimmy Butler's unselfish? Because he can't make the shot when it counts. Listen, LeBron's gonna be done in a year or two. And yeah, okay, Brodny will be there, but don't give a damn about Brodny. All right, it's you and D'Angelo. It's all good.
Listen, no, Luka needs to go to like Utah, Sacramento, someplace where the food isn't as well seasoned. Okay, it's not as tempting. Okay, because that man likes to eat. All right, and Texas was the worst place for him to go.
And guess what? He gets to his spot every time with the extra pound. So leave Luka alone.
Listen, I call him Fat Luka. Fat Luka, man. If he ever, man, imagine if Fat Luka ever got into shape. Oh my God. That'd be terrorizing. He needs to go someplace where, like that first piece of Texas toast and that Texas steak that ruined him. Okay, that was a wrap for Fat Luka. Okay, he went from being Luka, trim Luka to Fat Luka, and he needs to get out of Dallas. He needs to get out of the state of Texas. That man, he's tempted by food way too much. Okay, don't go to Texas. Don't go to New Orleans. Don't go to places where the food is rich. Okay. Go someplace where all you can do is just work out.
Career before it started.
Whew. Zion said, "This is a pole boy." Ooh, yes. I'm gonna catch up to
good there.
They said Zion practice. Yeah, I'm gonna catch up to y'all.
Oh, Lord.
All right, listen. Yes, Texas toast is off the hook. Okay, all right. we are getting dangerously close to 2 hours, and this is hashtag new 2 hours. We are going to spend a few minutes for the bonus time. Anything that you guys want to talk about, put it in the chat box real quick, and then we are going to head over to the overtime show where we'll be discussing why the NFL draft is a bad thing. Boo, the draft. Why do we think it's bad? And what do we think should replace the draft? We'll discuss that in the overtime show. We might have to discuss some Star Wars too. I saw the Star Wars chat earlier, man. There's a lot of people that aren't feeling the Jedi Order, okay? And listen, I told you, me and B can start a whole channel on the issues we have with Star Wars and the turn it's taken since the original trilogy.
And Jake Paul just signed his next fight.
Oh yeah,
Nate Diaz.
Yeah, Nate Diaz.
I was going to say that for the Ring Kings podcast, but Jake Paul is at the point now where are we still considering it boxing?
We're not even going to pretend anymore that it's legitimate. Like, fight a boxer.
I always call it boxing entertainment. Some people over there didn't like me calling that. Some people think that he's really boxing, but he hasn't fought a boxer. Well, he fought one boxer.
I mean, I just said he's sparring. I just call it him sparring. He's sparring. So I mean, technically it's boxing, but he's just sparring. Like he's not taking on a legitimate boxer. And credit to him. I give him credit for getting into the ring in that moment, but he is an entertainer and he's used to being in those environments. But it's just like public sparring. It's an event. It's a show. That's kind of just
it's a show. It's a show, right? The one thing I do like about Jake Paul is him really showcasing or featuring these former MMA fighters. Because UFC doesn't pay their fighters well. Now I think I think Diaz got paid pretty well. He's been fighting forever. I think he's done okay for himself. But typically these fighters, even for Nate Diaz, his pay-per-views don't pay him that much, right? This fight could easily be the most money he's ever made in one night, right? It's the same thing with Ben Askren. Same thing for Tyron Woodley. Like most of these MMA fighters don't make that much money. The more popular ones do over a period of time, but it's nothing near what they can make from boxing. And I like that Jake Paul kind of champions their effort to make more money, to unionize, make more, get paid. And he's really sticking it to Dana White because we can't stand Dana White. But these boxing matches, they're more like exhibitions. We know what it is, but those fighters walk away with a good chunk of change.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna get out of here soon. Type in your comments and we'll get it going. Last week, this is what you're missing on the overtime show, okay? Because last week it just spiraled out of control. I can't remember what the topic was supposed to be about, but we got into an argument about The Gray. Have you ever heard of that movie, The Gray? With Liam Neeson
and wolves.
Okay,
I've heard of it. I haven't watched it, but I've heard of it.
Doesn't matter. Okay, it doesn't matter. In fact, the fact that you didn't watch it, that's even better. Okay, there's only one question that we were asking, right? Does Liam Neeson die at the end of the movie? Okay, so a quick synopsis of the movie. It's a bunch of people out in the wilderness somewhere, and a pack of wolves are hunting this group down. Everybody pretty much gets eaten by the wolves at the end. Liam Neeson is the last person to survive. Well, does he survive? Because the wolves are surrounding him at the end, and the leader of the pack comes to the front. So Liam Neeson, he gets like a broken bottle. He makes some makeshift claws, and he looks into the camera and it goes to the credits, right? Does he die? Right? You think he's dead because everybody else dies. But then it had like that mid-credit scene where it shows the dead wolf. Okay?
And the wolf wasn't dead in the mid-credit scene. It was still alive. It had the raspy breath going on like he was maybe about to die. But much like Liam Neeson, you don't see the wolf die. The point is, there's a bunch of other wolves, and even if he miraculously killed all those other wolves, he's in the middle of nowhere. He's going to die of hypothermia, and that's the whole point of the movie is him, is all of them facing death, and accepting it in their own personal ways and challenging their faith and all that. He absolutely dies at the end.
That would have been that's great for a real movie, but this is Liam Neeson, and
This is a real movie.
Liam Neeson doesn't die. Okay, he's an action star.
This isn't your typical action movie. This is based off of a book. There's actually, when you watch the trailer, you would think this is Liam Neeson taking wolf punching action. That's not what goes on in this movie.
I was about to say.
Tell me, in the book, does he have some makeshift claws like Wolverine?
I mean, I haven't read the book, but I would imagine that you haven't read the book either.
Liam Neeson said that's an interesting story. How about if you made me some claws like Wolverine? That would be great. Okay.
At the end of the book, it is also ambiguous as to whether or not he kills the wolf or what happens at the very end.
Let me tell you what happened in Liam Neeson's version. Look, we're gonna get a vote for you in a second, keeping it real. Let me tell you what happens in Liam Neeson's version, okay? What you didn't see off screen, but you see in the director's cut. Liam Neeson kills the wolf. He kills the wolf. Okay, skins the wolf. He's wearing the wolf skin because now he is the wolf king. Okay, the wolf pack follows him. Okay, that's and they lead him up out of there. Okay, taken nature style.
No,
all right.
Liam Neeson. He stabs the wolf. The wolf is laying there. He's laying on the wolf. They both die in the wolf den.
Look, Coach says it. He will find you, and he has a particular set of skills. Okay. Yes. Now, Spawn says Qui-Gon Jinn does not surrender to wolves.
Qui-Gon Jinn got killed by a dude who his student beat moments later.
Spawn, you're not helping my case here. All right. True. What we're gonna end it with keeping it real. What's your vote? Does he die or does he survive?
I mean, see, it's Liam Neeson, so you always want to say he survives, but this isn't taking Liam Neeson. If it's taking Liam Neeson, okay, you know what? That guy is just not going to die if it's taking Liam Neeson.
Well, I want to interject real quick.
Okay.
There are many Taken movies that aren't called Taken, but they're essentially Taken.
If you're going to interject, I'm also going to interject real quick as well. Remember also, you got Taken Liam Neeson, you got Unstoppable Liam Neeson, all those random movies. You also have Liam Neeson, who was out on the streets in the middle of the night hunting for black people to murder, and he offered that up without anybody asking him about that. So I want you to now answer: is Liam Neeson dead?
Listen.
I'm just trying to figure out how he's going to survive here, because even if he takes down the leader wolf, let's just assume that he takes down the leader wolf here. Okay, so he takes down the leader wolf. What about the other wolves surrounding him? Exactly. If some miraculous way he takes down all of those wolves, obviously he's not going to take them down without suffering any sort of injury. He's going to be injured by the end of it.
Do they fight him or do they follow him now?
So they're going to follow. Okay, this is an interesting one that you would have to. This would take some research, because if you kill the pack leader wolf, would the others bow down? That's kind of a question there.
Here's why I asked this, right? Usually it's a pack. They just all jump on you, right? But they circled and they let the leader handle it, right?
They were out there like Rufio.
Yeah. Right.
Rufio, and then Rufio died, but so then somebody else steps up.
So they said fair fight. And their King Wolf lost a fair fight. So what are they going to do? I think I'm like now eat them.
They're gonna avenge their King Wolf. But even if they follow him, Liam Neeson ain't got no fur. He gonna die. It's too cold. Fair.
He's gonna skin King Wolf.
It's too cold.
Still not gonna survive in that environment.
Isn't that what Leonidas did in 300?
Leonidas died in 300.
He did that like 15 years old.
Yeah. He was 30 feet from his house.
Keeping it real. What's your vote?
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. No matter how you look at it, if it's a scenario where he kills the pack leader wolf and they all bow down to him, he's just not going to survive in those elements long term. And where is he going to get the food? Unless he's going to start potentially eating those wolves, which again, at that point, it ain't going to work no more. Right? They follow him no more. I can end it right there. So whether they follow him or whether he kills them, he's not going to survive in those elements.
They wake up one day like, "Where's Ricky?"
Okay, so death by elements, not by wolves though.
Yeah.
All right, I can give you that. Death by elements. I can give you that.
Okay. All right. Then I argue that he didn't die then, because I mean, look, eventually everybody dies, right? He died later on, but in the movie he does not die.
He dies.
He's not taking all the votes. It's just not happening.
Okay, let's get out of here. This is good. This is what you miss on the overtime show. Okay, this is what you miss. All right, so go patreon.com/LBHT Show. Sign up if you have $3 in your pocket, because it's not gonna be $3 for much longer. Go ahead and sign up. All right. If you're thinking about ordering some Uber Eats or Grubhub or whatever, man, save that $20 on delivery fees. Go pick it up yourself, and you'll have enough money, okay, to sign up. Keeping it real. Before we get out of here, let everybody know where they can find you.
Yeah, y'all can find me on my YouTube channel, Keeping It Real, as well as Twitter, which is Keeping It Real 721. So you can find me there. Playoffs are starting, so I can't wait to talk about that. Anything to get away from my team, which again, I hope to God they do not make the playoffs. I'm saying this as a Heat fan. I'd rather just go to the lottery. I'm not interested in watching 4 games of Milwaukee beat the crap out of us. And even if we win one, it's still just not worth it. I don't need to get a playoff spot. That's not worth it for me. But I'm excited for the playoffs. Obviously, the NFL draft's on the way, so we'll see how things going. And yeah, just a lot of things happening right now with the Ravens in terms of what can happen there. So I'm interested in seeing how things going, but I'm really excited for the NBA playoffs because there's a lot of predictions I gotta make.
Bet. All right, and we're gonna have you back on during the playoffs too. So don't overbook. Okay.
I got you.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, man. We still got about 70 people in here, man. Hit that like button on your way out. If you're new, hit that subscribe button. B, you have anything before we need to get out of here?
No.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
B is ready. Patrons, give us a couple minutes. Overtime show will be starting shortly. Everybody else, have a great night. We will see you next time.
Peace out.
Peace.